In the United States, over 40 million people live in poverty, and over 1 million experience homelessness on any given night. From bustling cities to rural towns, the shadows of poverty and homelessness touch the lives of families, individuals, and children. Even in the golden land of opportunity, shadows cling stubbornly, the shadows of poverty and homelessness. Let's begin by delving into the roots of the issue, poverty in America. The poverty rate in America is on the rise, painting a troubling picture of widening economic disparities and challenges facing millions of citizens. According to U.S. Census Bureau, 12.4% of Americans lived in poverty in 2022, translating to 40 million people. This represents a significant increase from 7.8% in 2021. These figures paint a picture of struggle. Families unable to afford basic necessities like food, housing, and healthcare. Food insecurity, for example, plagues millions, with nearly 41 million Americans facing food insecurity in 2022. Millions struggle to afford decent housing, leading to overcrowding, homelessness, and instability. In the land of opportunity, a disturbing reality persists: millions of children are growing up in poverty. This isn't just a statistic. It's a crisis with profound consequences for their well-being and the nation's future. 11 million children in the United States live in poverty. That's 1 in 7 kids. The child poverty rate more than doubled in 2022 compared to 2021, reaching a historic high of 12.4%. Children of color are disproportionately affected, with the poverty rate for Black children at 22.5% and Hispanic children at 18.5%. Poverty rates vary significantly across racial and ethnic groups. In 2022, the poverty rate for Black Americans was 19.5%, followed by Hispanics at 15.7%, and Asian Americans at 9.5%. Native Americans have the highest poverty rate, at 25.4%. Poverty rates also vary geographically, with higher rates concentrated in the South and the West. In 2022, the state with the highest poverty rate was Mississippi at 19.7%, while the state with the lowest rate was New Hampshire at 6.7%. Poverty rates tend to be higher in rural areas compared to urban areas. In 2022, the poverty rate in rural America was 13.1%, while the rate in urban areas was 10.5%. Families headed by single mothers have a poverty rate of 24.3%. The poverty rate for people with disabilities is 19.3%. Working poor in America. The term working poor refers to individuals or families who work hard but still struggle to make ends meet. They are employed, often full-time, yet their wages remain below the poverty line, making it difficult to afford basic necessities. The U.S. Department of Labor defines the working poor as individuals who work at least 27 weeks a year, but whose family income falls below the official poverty threshold. This threshold varies depending on family size and composition, but for a single person in 2023, it was $12,844, and for a family of 4, it was $25,750. According to the BLS, 6.3 million individuals were categorized as working poor in 2020. This represents 3.9% of all workers, and 11.4% of the overall population living below the poverty line. Income inequality in America has been a major point of contention for decades, with a gap between the rich and the rest of the population that has been steadily widening. While there are signs of a recent slight decrease, the overall picture remains concerning. Here's a breakdown of the current situation. The top 1% of earners captured 23.9% of the total income in 2021, with their share steadily increasing over the past decades. The bottom 50% of earners received only 14.5% of the total income in 2021, highlighting the stark contrast. The American dream of upward mobility seems increasingly out of reach for many, perpetuating poverty and limiting opportunities. Recent estimates suggest over 1 million people experience homelessness in the U.S. on any given night, a staggering 12% increase from just a year ago. This translates to roughly 35 out of every 10,000 people lacking a permanent home. Black Americans are disproportionately represented among the homeless population, making up 37% despite being only 13% of the overall population. Hispanic or Latino individuals constitute 33%. This is significantly higher than their representation in the overall population. Men make up about 61% of the homeless population, while women account for 38%. While homelessness can affect people of all ages, it's more prevalent among adults aged 50 and over. This age group represents over 25% of the homeless population, facing challenges like age discrimination in the workforce and a lack of affordable senior housing options. 4 out of 10 homeless individuals live in unsheltered locations, such as parks, streets, or cars. California, New York, and Florida have the highest homeless populations, with California alone accounting for nearly 1/3 of the total. California, despite its booming economy and reputation as a land of opportunity, faces a significant and growing crisis: poverty and homelessness. While the Golden State boasts some of the most affluent individuals and businesses in the world, it also houses a disproportionate share of the nation's unhoused population. California has the highest homeless population in the United States, with over 371,500 people experiencing homelessness on a single night in 2022. This represents nearly 30% of the nation's homeless population. Approximately 1 in 8 Californians live in poverty. This translates to over 8.2 million people living below the poverty line. 2. New York. New York is home to over 90,000 homeless individuals, with a majority of them living in New York City. The state has implemented several programs to address homelessness, including the creation of thousands of supportive housing units and the implementation of rent subsidies. According to the Coalition for the Homeless, the numbers have actually hit an all-time high. Research shows that the primary cause of homelessness, particularly among families, is lack of affordable housing. Surveys of homeless families have identified the following major immediate, triggering causes of homelessness: eviction, doubled up or severely overcrowded housing, domestic violence, job loss, and hazardous housing conditions. 3. Florida. Florida has over 28,000 homeless people, with a majority of them living in urban areas. The state has been criticized for its lack of affordable housing and social safety net programs, which has contributed to the growing homeless population. Economists say the lack of affordable housing is the primary factor leading to homelessness here in the Sunshine State. This is most people who become homeless in Florida have extremely low incomes, making it difficult to maintain rental housing. Housing experts are concerned that Florida could see a significant spike in homelessness in 2023 after a year that saw Hurricanes Ian and Nicole ravage the state's southern peninsula and destroyed affordable homes for some of the state's lowest income earners. Florida has been one of the hottest housing markets in the U.S. since the pandemic began in March 2020. In nearly 3 years, the state's median home price has skyrocketed by more than 61% from a low of $251,000 to now more than $406,000, according to data from Zillow. As the number of people experiencing homelessness increases across the country, more cities and states have passed laws making it illegal to live out of tents and cars or sleep in public spaces. More than 100 jurisdictions have had such bans on the books for years, according to the National Homelessness Law Center. In recent months, high-profile measures have been approved targeting homelessness in many western U.S. cities and across entire states. Federal data shows 582,462 people were experiencing homelessness on a single night in January 2022. Experts warn more people will enter homelessness as housing costs increase, as has been the case for decades in cities such as New York and in much of California. If visible, unsheltered homelessness continues to grow, city leaders will have an easier time passing measures advocates say criminalize basic needs such as sleep and sheltering oneself, Eric Tars, legal director for the National Homelessness Law Center, told. The danger is that the worse the housing situation gets, the more people we see on the streets, the more will be the push for these punitive policies, Tars said. These states and cities have passed laws making it illegal to live in tents or sleep on public property. Missouri bans sleeping in parks. On January 1st, a statewide ban on sleeping on state-owned land took effect in Missouri, making it a misdemeanor to sleep in public spaces such as parks or under bridges.